Cultural patterns, power distance. Russia has a high power distance culture because it is a nation where power holders are very distant in society. This is underlined by the fact that the largest country in the world is extremely centralized. Two-thirds of all foreign investments go into Moscow, where also 80% of all financial potential is concentrated. The huge discrepancy between the less and the more powerful people leads to the great importance of status symbols. The behavior has to reflect and represent the status roles in all areas of business interactions, be it visits, negotiations, or cooperation. The approach should be top-down and provide clear mandates for any task. In Australia, there is a low power distance because organizations' hierarchy is established for convenience. Superiors are always accessible, and managers rely on individual employees and teams for their expertise. At the same time, communication is informal, direct, and participative. This means that if a Russian person wanted to do business with someone from Australia, he could feel offended by the informality that exists in conversations between people of different ranks, since in Russia the representation of status and power is really important in business. Collectivism. If Russians plan to go out with their friends, they would literally say we with friends instead of I and my friends. If they talk about brothers and sisters, it may well be cousins. Family, friends, and not seldom the neighborhood are extremely important to get along with everyday life challenges. Relationships are crucial in obtaining information, getting introduced, or successful negotiations. They need to be personal, authentic, and trustful before one can focus on tasks and build one care to the recipient, rather than an implicit communication style. This is why it is considered a collectivism culture.
Masculinity. Russia has a high score on this dimension. It indicates that the society will be driven by competition, achievement, and success. In Russia, this is related to the high power distance. A dominant behavior might be accepted when it comes from the boss, but is not appreciated among peers. Russia has a highly defined gender roles and promote achievement in the workplace.
Uncertainty avoidance. Russians feel very much threatened by ambiguous situations, as well as they have established one of the most complex bureaucracies in the world. Presentations are either not prepared, example when negotiations are being started and the focus is on relationship building, or extremely detailed and well prepared. Also, detailed planning and briefing are very common. Russians prefer to have context and background information. As long as Russians interact with people considered to be strangers, they appear very formal and distant. At the same time, formality is used as a sign of respect. How these specific patterns may cause communication problems. In Mexico, there is a low uncertainty avoidance tendency. This means that people usually feel comfortable with changes, and if the plans do not go according to what is established, it does not mean a big problem. This can result in conflict when two people from both cultures work together, because in Russia, following a plan is essential to be successful, while in Mexico, it is possible to take actions without being sure what the result will be. Long-term orientation. Russia is definitely a country with a pragmatic mindset. In societies with a pragmatic orientation, people believe that truth depends very much on situation, context, and time. They show an ability to adapt traditions easily to changed conditions and a strong propensity to save and invest, thriftiness, and perseverance in achieving results.
Russia is a restrained country, instead of indulgent. This dimension is defined as the extent to which people try to control their desires and impulses based on the way they were raised. Russian nature is restrained. They have a tendency to cynicism and pessimism. Russian people do not put much emphasis on leisure time and control the gratification of their desires. Russians have the perception that their actions are restrained by social norms and feel that indulging themselves is somewhat wrong. Russia's relationship with nature. The country has a long tradition of nature conservation, from the different ethnic groups to the state offices, and was one of the pioneers of scientific nature reserves where human activity is strictly controlled. Although Russia has a long history of exploiting their own natural resources, there have been many reserves since the Tsar's era to the Soviet Union and after that have been protected, such as Lake Baikal in Siberia and Solovetsky Islands. Today, the biggest concern of Russia is the climate change and the high temperatures that are being seen in many territories. Russia is a high context culture because there is normally a strong level of similitude among the people. The traditions and social environment have changed very little over time. Russians tend to analyze people through status, age, sex, education, family, background, title, and affiliations, and through an individual's information, friends, and associates. Subtle messages and information are provided through inference, gestures, and even silence. Russia is a polychronic culture. Russia's concept of time is more flexible and elastic than the US in their daily life. Plans can be changed between friends and family members, but they always give a detailed explanation why they needed to cancel something. However, in business meetings, they try to stick to the agenda, just if the meeting has been settled days before and not weeks before. They do not like to make plans in long term because of their pessimistic view of life. They have a saying that states, "A person plans, but God has other plans for him."
Non-verbal communication practices. As mentioned before, in Russian culture, the power and status of people is very important, which is why it is widely reflected in the use of non-verbal language. When a person offers a greeting and at the same time opens their nostrils, it is a sign of power imposed by this person. Since when doing business, Russians believe that it is important to make this power known from the beginning. Similarly, this is commonly used in a conversation between rivals, as it exerts visual power on people. When Russians greet a person they have just met, they do so with a handshake, which always has to be without gloves despite the weather in the environment to be considered polite, while when they greet an acquaintance, they do so with a hug. It is also common for women to greet with a kiss on both people's cheeks. Eye contact is very important in Russia. You will be expected to keep eye contact as long as you are being spoken to, especially when first introduced.